What's going on, everyone? My name is Twig, and today we are taking a look at the newly released title, Still Wakes the Deep. It released yesterday, and I got a day off from work, so I spent the day playing through this awesome game, obtaining all achievements, and writing my review. To get the intro stuff out of the way, I review titles that I 100% here on YouTube in video format, as well as post written reviews on Steam, so if you like what you see or hear, feel free to subscribe or give this video a like. Without further ado, let's hop right into my thoughts on this newly released horror game. You take the role of an electrician named Cameron Kaz McLeary, who is a worker on the Bira D oil rig. The game is set in December 1975, out on the cold, desolate, and very mysterious North Sea. After learning that you're getting fired from a job that you desperately need, things start to go south real quick. The oil rig struck something catastrophic, and now you must not only survive the harsh weather, but evade the pursuit of a vicious creature while trying to locate and bring your crew members back to safety. The setting really drew me into this game because fighting a monster while being trapped out at sea is not a premise that we get to see a whole lot. There was a game that I thought of while playing this one called The Thing, developed by Computer Artworks back in 2002, which was based off of a John Carpenter film in the 1980s. The premise of both games is fascinating to me, and I think The Thing is getting a remastered version, which was scheduled to be later this year if I'm not mistaken. Traversing the oil rig to get to new areas plays a big part of the gameplay in this game. Climbing ladders, walking on beams, swimming underwater, jumping across terrifying ledges are only small worries in the back of your mind as you make your way off the rig. The atmosphere around you is captivating, crawling through water in tight spaces, wondering what lies around the next corner down the hall. Like in other horror games like Outlast, you aren't given a weapon to defend yourself. Instead, you use items found along the way, like wrenches and bottles, to draw enemies away from where you need to go. If you're wanting to be immersed in a disaster story about being on board an authentic North Sea oil rig, this will definitely be right up your alley. As you get deeper into the story, you get to experience the beauty as well as the ferocity of the sea as it rips apart one of humanity's strongest structures and the crew that occupies it. The monster that hunts you is unrelenting, and it is a great time to navigate all the areas in order to try to stay alive to see your family again. In terms of gameplay time, you can expect to see roughly 4 to 6 hours of gameplay depending on how slow you go or if you explore every corner of the oil rig. We'll talk more about the gameplay at a price point in just a minute. As I was doing research on the development of the game, I found out that an oil rig was chosen to be the game's setting because it provided opportunities to explore various types of fears, such as vertigo, drowning, and claustrophobia, and it does capture all three of those very well. The game looks amazing, from running down the halls with emergency lights on to hanging off the edge of the rig with only the roaring sea below you. Not only are the visuals outstanding, but I really noticed how well all of the sound effects were, from coming up out of the water after holding your breath, to jumping from one ladder to the next. With the combination of killer visuals and awesome sound effects, you really are immersed in the game. Along with a great story, what really ties it together is the awesome soundtrack and voice acting. They really have an all-star cast, and it shows, with too many big names to mention, but people with voice acting credits to games like Diablo 4, Hellblade, Plague Tale, Final Fantasy, Dragon Age 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Dying Light 2, Elden Ring, Xenoblade Chronicles, Assassin's Creed, Cyberpunk 2077, and even more. I think the voice acting in this game combined with the world-class writing makes for an unforgettable experience by the end of the game. Before I booted the game up, I guess they sent out copies for other content creators because there were already walkthroughs on some websites, as well as some platinum playthroughs posted up on YouTube. This really helped me be able to complete the game as quickly as possible with only one playthrough, where it probably would have taken a second one if I had not started off by following a guide. There are a ton of missable achievements in this game, from simple things like staring at someone in the shower, to listening to a radio give the shipping forecast for 3.5 minutes. If you miss these things, then you'll have to start a new playthrough because there is not a chapter select or anything after you beat the game. I think a chapter select would be a great feature to help people who need to do cleanup activities like finding Rory's spoon, that is incredibly easy to miss, or answering all the phone calls, which sometimes the phone only starts ringing after you've left the room. Locating every dead crew member is one of the last achievements that I got, and I was super scared that I accidentally missed one. It took me about 4 hours while following a guide to get through the game and do everything. You can complete the game faster for sure, especially if you're just playing through it and not worrying about having to die in all the electrical hazards on the rig. The fact that all of these missable achievements were easily missable had me glued to the screen and honestly made the experience a little more thrilling. But if I would have missed something, it definitely would have sucked. You can play through the game completely in story mode for all achievements, but you have to complete the game in Scottish Gaelic for a rare achievement. You have to die in all ways possible for an achievement, and you have to beat the game without sprinting for more than 10 total minutes, which I was also a little scared about. Overall, it's not too bad. The game itself is easy, but you've got to watch out because the missable ones will get you. My thoughts on the game as a whole are that it's a very well-made horror-like experience that is not too scary, but it's also not a walking sim. The story is great, along with the awesome voice acting. There is not a ton of exploration, and the monster is not too hard to avoid and get away from. Performance was solid, even with the small amount of time on the Steam Deck that I had. The visuals and audio are a huge plus for me, taking the gameplay experience to the next level and making the game even more memorable. I enjoyed my time with it, getting all achievements and supporting a studio who makes cool, interesting games. The price of the game may be a little too high for some people's liking. $34.99 at full price with a launch discount of 10% brings it down to $31.49. I would probably like to see it a little lower, so I can fully recommend snagging this game on sale. They advertise on the Steam page 6 hours of terrifying gameplay, which is probably true for someone who isn't trying to beat the game as quickly as possible, following a guide on their first playthrough. And if you're having to do a second playthrough or do a cleanup run, or you just want another dose of the game, you'll easily get another 3 to 4 hours out of it. I just had to get this review done before Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, because I plan to grind that for a few days straight. The Chinese Room, who are the developers of this game, did an amazing job at creating a unique gaming experience and telling a thrilling story along the way. They have made some super cool games, and I want to see them keep pumping out horror titles. I've honestly played more single-player survival horror games recently than I normally do, and that's not a bad thing. You can find this game on Xbox Series X and S, PS5, and on PC. It was a ton of fun and a great way to spend my day off. Feel free to add me on Steam. I've been adding people who game on PC on there. We've got some really cool titles coming up, so thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do the subscribe and thumbs up thing, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.